The views and opinions expressed on the Veterans in Politics show and podcast are those of the guests and hosts and do not necessarily reflect those of Vegas All Net Radio, its affiliates, or its parent company.
Americans have been fooled by politicians about illegal immigration. They make you think that if you bring up this topic, you are a racist. Did you know that America is the only country on this planet that does not enforce its federal immigration laws? For the fear of being called a racist, I am for legal immigration. I was born on the island of Jamaica, became an American citizen, served 12 years in the U.S. military, served in Desert Storm, and received a Presidential Unit Citation, National Defense Medal, and Marine Corps Commendation. Our immigration laws serve a purpose. I understand that this country was founded on immigration, but there is a wrong way and a right way. I'm here to tell you that illegal immigration is breaking our federal laws. Why don't you call me a racist? This is Steve Sanson.
This is Steve Sanson and Eric Mendoza with Veterans in Politics. Eric, put your head. Boy, these special guest hosts, Irma, I tell you, these guys, where do I get them? Eric, how you doing?
Good, Steve. How you doing?
Oh, good. I just want to let everybody know Jim Jonas is not going to be here today because he is at the Marine Corps Leatherneck Club interviewing county commission candidates, U.S. Senate candidates, and congressional candidates for our endorsement. So Eric Mendoza has graciously decided that he was going to co-host today, and Eric is also running for Assembly District 20. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct, Steve.
Eric, why don't you tell just a little bit about yourself?
Well,
okay, that's good. Anyways, go ahead. Just a little bit, Eric. Can I give you a website, stuff like that?
Steve, my website is ericforassembly.com. You can also catch me on Facebook at Eric for Assembly. And I'll tell you what, I'm a 37-year resident here in Las Vegas. I spent about over 25 years in my current district. Love Nevada, and I'm really ready to step in and fight and ready to improve our state of Nevada.
Wow. What type of fighting, Eric?
Well, I just think that
because I like to fight myself.
Well, I like to fight. I like to fight for strong family values.
Okay.
I like to fight for jobs and just a great quality of life here in Nevada.
All right, before we get into any kind of rants, I just want to let the listeners know we have two guests today. We're going to start off with Nancy Saitta. She's the Chief Justice for Nevada Supreme Court. That's the highest level you could go as far as being a judge or a justice in the Nevada, except for the federal U.S. The federal courts, right? Yeah, okay. And then we're going to have David Wallace, who's a state Senate candidate running for District number 4, and we're going to hear about him. But do you have anything else to say, Eric? What's going on?
Steve, I'm glad you asked me to come on the station. Obviously, I've got a face meant for radio, so I'm happy to be here. I'm actually really honored and really proud that I did get the endorsement from Veterans in Politics.
Yes, you did. And David Wallace, he got it too.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, it's an honor.
Yeah, we haven't presented it to him, but when we went to your fundraiser yesterday, the gentleman that hosted it, we recognized each other.
Yeah, Devin Lee, great supporter, he and his wife.
So that was interesting. Vegas is so small.
It really is. We're here at a town of 2 million, but I always say it's almost like that 6 degrees of separation. Everyone knows somebody who knows somebody, and this town is really actually quite a small town.
Absolutely. Let's take a commercial break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to come back with Nancy Saitta. She's the Chief Justice for the Nevada Supreme Court, and we'll take one commercial break and be right back with you. This is Steve Sanson and Eric Mendoza, Veterans in Politics.
Hello, my fellow Nevadans. Are you tired of listening to the same old rhetoric from politicians? I know I am, and that's why I'm running for Congress in Nevada's 4th District as a conservative. I'm Sidney Zeller, a retired Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel and veteran of 3 wars. I'm a proven leader and a man of honor, integrity, and character. My focus is on bringing economic prosperity to the 4th District. For more information on my positions, please visit my Facebook and website, SidZellerForCongress.com, paid for by Sid Zeller for Congress.
This public service announcement is brought to you by Veterans in Politics International. The Veterans in Politics mission is to teach, educate, organize, and awaken our veterans and their families to select, support, and vote intelligently for a better world, and to protect ourselves from our own governments and a culture of corruption, and to be the political voice for those in other groups that do not have one.
There are too many homeless veterans, and more help is needed from the VA. Every veteran service organization post should adopt a local homeless veteran.
The funding of VA medical centers is inadequate, and building a VA hospital in southern Nevada is moving at a slow pace. The budget has been flatlined for too many years. The VA is too quick to deny claims and too slow to help veterans gather records in support of claims.
Local politicians ignore veterans and their issues. They perceive a lack of organization among their local veterans and that it won't hurt them at election time. Veterans too often vote party, not veteran issues. All veterans should vote in every election.
The news media give inadequate coverage to veteran issues and events. You must send letters to the editor and voice this concern.
Please contact your members of Congress and Senate and urge them to co-sponsor key legislation in supporting our veterans.
Please support Veterans in Politics. And to get more information, go to www.veteransinpolitics.com.
This is Sweet Cheeks with the curvaceous bounty of Sin City. In this election year, knowledge is power. Know the issues, know the candidates, and remember to vote. Your vote is your voice. And besides, you get a really cool sticker.
We're back. This is Steve Sanderson, Eric Mendoza with Veterans in Politics. We have Justice Nancy Saitta on the line. Justice Saitta, how you doing today, ma'am?
I'm just fine, thank you. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing real good. Thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate that. And could you give us a little bio about yourself?
Well, I'll start with the fact that, oops, I've got you on my, let me turn this down, walk away. I just had you turned on my computer here. I am 61 years old. I'm about to complete my first term on the Nevada Supreme Court.
Oh, hold on, Chief Justice. You're not 61 years old.
Well, bless your heart, but yes, I am.
Okay, keep going.
I'm completing my first term on the Supreme Court, and I am so very, very lucky that I can talk confidently about my second term because I was one of those lucky few who came out unopposed in the filing period.
Yeah, and you know something, Chief Justice, yourself and Justice Douglas and Cherry were also unopposed. What? Everybody's scared of you guys? What's going on?
You know, I don't think that that's it at all.
You're doing such an excellent job that everybody wants to keep you.
Well, you know, I'd like to think that what it is that this court, and certainly Justice Cherry and Justice Douglas and I, as members of the court, have really coalesced. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Our court right now is a fairly young court, as you know, in terms of years of service. And I will tell you that we have all come together in such a way that I think that we are certainly working hard. I know that for sure. And we are writing law that I think, I certainly hope, is being well respected. And so I think that the people of the state decided to give us a little bit more time to complete our work.
Justice Saitta, what is that specialty court bill that you guys have, the one that you allow X amount of dollars for a specialty court? If they come in front of the Supreme Court and ask for it, you guys will allow it. I remember State Senator Sheila Leslie mentioned it to me, saying that that's how she funds her Veterans Court. Is there such a bill or law that anybody could come before you and ask for funding for specialty courts are concerned?
It's not quite that simple. If only it were. The funding that you referred to really comes out of the administrative office of the courts, which is certainly a part of our court, but it doesn't come directly from the Supreme Court. It's certainly part of our budget. And Veterans Court, like drug court and mental health court, are what we refer to as therapeutic courts. And one of the reasons that we firmly support these courts is because nationally the numbers all tell us that treating unique people in our criminal justice system the same way doesn't work. And by going into specialty courts where we identify other issues that can be affecting the people that appear before the court, we're able to deal with them far more efficiently than simply just putting someone behind bars or putting them on a term of probation. These therapeutic courts really deal with both the fact that a law has been broken and there needs to be recourse, but on the other hand, it recognizes the special circumstances that may affect the reason and the person who's before that judge.
Well, when did you become Chief Justice?
I became the chief in September.
Congratulations to you.
Well, thank you so much. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. On our court, the chief's position is a rotating position. We rotate according to what is referred to as our commission. It has to do with when we are elected. And happily and with great regret, I passed that big hat and that title off to Justice Cherry in just a couple of weeks. So we rotate.
Oh, how often do you guys rotate?
Generally, we would rotate every year. The Constitution says that we should have a Chief Justice every 2 years. And what happens is that when you have two justices, or in Justice Douglas and Justice Cherry's, in my case, three justices who have the same commission, what you do is you take that 2-year term and you divide it equally between or among those justices. And so, generally speaking, it's a 1-year term. In our case, it was just an 8-month term. Okay. We'll each serve 8 months. Justice Douglas was before me. He passed the torch to me. I pass it on to Justice Cherry.
Justice Saitta, are you familiar with the Stolen Valor bill that was before the U.S. Supreme Court?
I am.
Tell us a little bit about how you're familiar with it, and if you are for it or against it to be some type of law here in the state of Nevada.
First of all, let me start off by saying that I can't give you an opinion of whether or not I'm for or against something. That would violate my judicial ethics.
Okay, Judge Villani.
But let me talk a little bit about the case. Well, no, not about the case, about the issues that give rise to the case. Because that we are allowed to talk to. And I guess if I have the time, I'd step back just a second to say, I think it's got to be pretty frustrating to hear members of the judicial branch say, I can't talk about that because of my ethical obligation. I want to be real clear that what we cannot talk about is a position that we might have in a certain case or a pending case or impending case. And you want us to be that way. Everyone in the public should want us to be neutral. But having said that, I don't use that as a way to avoid answering questions. And so there are always subject matters that I think we can respond to. And the Stolen Valor issue has to do with, in my mind, something quite simple as being certain that those individuals who have served our country, given in many instances their life for our freedoms, are assured real, true recognition, and no one should be able to use that for their own good with some devious intent. I hope that is clear.
Well, let me tell you the reason why I called you Judge Villani, because I had Judge Villani on the show several years ago, I believe when he first was elected to the bench, and he wouldn't talk about anything. He said that might come before me, that is before me, that could come before me, and I was like, he was even doing hypotheticals on me. And we didn't have a conversation, but when I had Judge Bixler on, and I'm sure you're familiar with Judge Bixler.
I know him well.
He talked about everything, so there was like a night and day conversation between the two judges. So,
and I think that you'll find that a lot, and that's why I try to be obviously faithful to my obligation and the ethics that my job provides for me. But on the other hand, I don't use that as a way to avoid answering questions, and that's sort of why I'm always very careful to talk about the generalities of the issues. And I think that we can always do that. You know, I mean, stolen valor is a pretty important thing as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, the outcome of the case, obviously I can't comment on that. But you know what? I think that if we don't protect those who, have, as I said, have served our country and, like I said, protected my freedom and everybody else's freedoms in this country that we so appreciate, then there's something wrong. We should be doing that. We should protect them.
Justice Saitta, there's some states that legalize marijuana, and there are some VA clinics in those states that are prescribing marijuana to returning troops that are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. How do you feel about legalizing marijuana in the state of Nevada?
That's one I can't answer. Unfortunately, that would be something that potentially could become a law and could be challenged. And I anticipate that should it have become a part of our legal scheme here, it will most definitely come to our court.
There's some states that legalize gay marriages. How do you feel about legalizing gay marriage in the state of Nevada?
You're making it tough for me here. Unfortunately, the only thing that I could answer to that would be the same as I just answered to the medical marijuana or the legalization of marijuana. And I'd love to comment, but it would be inappropriate for me to do so.
You know, I have an assembly candidate that's here. His name is Eric Mendoza. He's running for District 20, and I'm sure that he might have a couple questions he wants to ask you.
Hello, Judge. I guess one of my questions, I know you're heavily involved in the juvenile court system. What would be the one thing in your mind, a bill or a law that could pass that would help protect children here in our state?
Wow, that's a great question. Thanks, Eric. In fact, we're looking at a couple of things that could affect both the juvenile population and our child welfare population. One is we are looking at what we refer to in the juvenile area as deep end commitment, and what that means is the kids that end up actually in prison settings. We're looking at how we can better avoid getting our kids into that high-level prison setting. We're looking at some rewrites of the juvenile justice code. We're actually going to be appearing before an interim committee of your body, legislative body, on May 9th to make that presentation. And on the other side of the equation, in child welfare, we are also looking at a rewrite of what is now known as Chapter 432B, because we want to be sure that our abused and neglected population are being heard in a courtroom. That is that they have a voice by and through an attorney. And that, for me, a special project that I'm working on right now, in addition to those two, is to heighten the awareness about the educational process that our foster kids sometimes find themselves in when they're removed from their own home. They oftentimes, end up in a foster home that is quite likely in a different school district, and sometimes their educational process suffers dramatically. And so I'm hoping that we can bring some awareness to that issue. And I've had some great conversations with our superintendent down here in Clark County, and we've had a statewide summit on it. So I'm hoping that we can increase the representation of our 432B kids in the courtroom, and that we can avoid putting too many of our delinquents into child prisons.
Wow, that's a great answer. I'm also a former foster parent as well, so I do know the difficulties of that situation. Is there any?
We need to sign you up on one of my committees.
Hey, I'm more than willing. Let's help me get through this election, and I'll be there.
Great.
Just to say that the Supreme Court was oversaw the redistricting of the lines here for the different electoral seats. I thought the redistricting supposed to come from the legislative branch of government, not the judicial branch. How do you feel about being put in the middle of that?
Well, another great question. We didn't ultimately have anything to do with redistricting because we let the trial court take care of it, but that still is part of the judicial system, so your question is well placed. Unfortunately, when one branch of government doesn't do its job, the beauty of our system is that we have two other branches that create that checks and balance that our forefathers were so so wise to put into our system. What happens is when one branch can't do it or doesn't do it, there are other ways, and in this case, the court was called upon to get it done. And I think that the way that the judge in this case handled it in Carson City was to put together a committee and have the committee take a look at it, if you will, a committee of experts, and they did their job. So I think that while it was certainly uncomfortable for the judicial branch to be looking as if they were going to have to do the job of another branch, I think in the end it worked out the way it should have.
Could you tell the listeners a little bit of a job description that a Supreme Court justice does?
Yes.
Golfing, having coffee with the mayor, the other stuff.
Yeah. I still wish that was it. But let me start by telling you, as you know, we are the busiest court in the country. We still don't have an intermediate court of appeals. And so our days are very long, and we spend a tremendous amount of time reading and writing and meeting with one another. Of course, you know the Supreme Court, any appellate court, is a collective brain, if you will. It takes 7 of us to make a decision. So we spend a significant amount of time reviewing one another's work. We spend another big chunk of time actually reading and writing the law. And I will tell you that right now our number of filings continues to go up. And so as much as I'd like to spend time just with my husband or any one of my 4 grandchildren, I'm spending way more time looking at a computer screen and editing work and reading law. So it's a busy court.
Wow. Could you tell listeners what laws that you were instrumental in getting passed for the state of Nevada? Well,
let me clarify just a bit. Of course, as a member of the judicial branch, we don't pass laws. We interpret the laws when they come before us unchallenged. And so, for the most part, when you say what laws we passed, we don't do any. We just don't do legislation. That would be making law. We simply look at, enforce the law or interpret the law as it is written. We, of course, determine whether or not the law is constitutional, but there is a presumption that if something is passed out of the legislature, it is, in fact, constitutional. So we're sort of, the second level of review on laws. We don't make laws.
I meant enforce law. Excuse me, Justice Saitta.
Oh, okay. Enforcing them. Anything that comes to us with respect to the admission of evidence, an opportunity to be heard, we're doing a significant amount of work now with respect to class action proceedings, and obviously our criminal work is, constantly evolving. Whether or not certain pieces of evidence can or should be used against someone, whether or not you have a right to be heard on a certain issue. There's so very much. I would need the rest of the day to tell you all the type of cases that we're working on. We do a tremendous amount of child custody cases. Obviously, we do the review of delinquent cases. Anything that goes through any of your trial courts, we take a look at it.
You're familiar with the former District Court Judge Don Mosley, correct?
Yes, he's my colleague.
I've had several conversations with him, and you know that Judge Mosley used to preside over the criminal calendar.
Yes.
And he was the longest serving judge on the bench until he retired March 1st. We had a conversation, and the conversation was as such that, because, he has sentenced a lot of folks to the death penalty. And he has told me that, I believe 25 years now, and he has told me that since he has done that, only one person actually was sentenced to death, and only one person was actually executed by the state of Nevada. My question to you, Justice Saitta, is, one, how do you feel about the death penalty? And if you're for or against it, let's say you're for it, how could we speed up the process and get these criminals executed instead of having them housed in the prison system, taking up all our tax dollars?
Boy, that's a tough question. Let me start back with Obviously, the death penalty is the law in our state, and so I will comply with the law. The question of the delay in actual imposition of the death sentence is troubling, and that's a national issue. Any state that has death penalty laws are finding it very hard to move forward. And there's a reason for that, Steve. It has primarily to do with the fact that in order to be sure that we are not wrongfully imposing the death penalty, every opportunity to review and reconsider the evidence that was used against those who have been convicted was legal, to be sure that they are not getting what we would refer to in the constitutional jargon as a cruel and unusual punishment. And as you certainly know, in the last probably decade, the process of putting an accused or a convicted individual to death has been challenged itself. The actual, what is referred to as the death cocktail, has been challenged because there was concern nationwide about whether or not that in and of itself was cruel and unusual punishment, and what the combination of chemicals in the injection actually did. So that obviously affected the ability of any state to move ahead. So long as that process was being challenged, at the United States Supreme Court, we couldn't do anything in our own states. So it's an ongoing balance, if you will, of being certain that every right that is constitutionally extended to every one of us is afforded to even those folks who have been convicted. And I'll tell you, you rightfully point out that there is a huge financial drain on our prison system, on our correction system at large. And I'll tell you that we frequently in the Supreme Court are seeing cases that have been before the Supreme Court 2, 3, even 4 times. And while to some listeners it may seem like it's a waste of time, there certainly is a whole other side of the issue, and that is to be sure that, as I said, every legal right and protection has been afforded to those who appear in our court system. So it's, again, a very delicate balance, very.
My question was, my second part of the question was, how do you feel about the death penalty?
I can't answer that because that's...
Justice Saitta, how do you feel about the death penalty?
I'll tell you that it's the law of the state of Nevada, and I will enforce the law of the state of Nevada.
Justice Saitta, it's Eric Mendoza again. I'm also a realtor here and have been for the last 14 years. You're familiar with the construction defect cases that affect our valley and our real estate market. There are a lot of FHA home buyers who are shut out of the market because of a lot of the construction defect claims. And what that allows is investors to come in and buy those properties all cash and then turn around and rent them to the person who maybe should have bought them. What do you think about those type of construction defect cases?
Let me go back a couple of years, maybe about 10 years ago now, when the construction defect situation first hit the valley. I was still in the trial court, as you may know, and one of the projects that I took up with 2 of my colleagues was to create a specialized court to deal with construction defect because we were concerned about people in the valley living in homes that may or may not have been constructed poorly. We were concerned about these huge cases taking up valuable court docket time. And I'll tell you that Justice Cherry and Judge Earl and I worked, again, long, hard hours trying to put together a court that could deal with those cases efficiently. And I'll tell you, here I am 10 years later, still very, very worried about what's going on in our valley. And the FHA situation that you point out is something that I'm not particularly familiar with. It was not something that was at issue when I was in the trial court, and it is not something that has yet come before the court. But I'll go back to where I was 10 years ago. The reason I got into the specialty court situation and took on an extra 1/3 caseload in order to handle those cases was because I care about the people in this valley, and like in any other city or community, most of us have almost everything that we own invested in our home. And so to the extent that I can protect people to have safe homes and an opportunity to own a home, I'll continue to work in that regard. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, Justice Saitta, we'd like to thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate it. And do you have maybe a contact information that you'd like to give out?
Sure. I always encourage people to actually become a part of what our court is doing. And that means that you can listen to our arguments. Our arguments are generally the first week of every month. And if you can't come to our court in Carson City or in Las Vegas, where we are actually holding our arguments, we are podcast. Every one of our arguments is done live, podcast on our website. I encourage people to listen to our arguments. We're working hard to improve our website. I would very much like people to take a look at our website. And you can contact me directly if anyone wants to get in touch with me at the Nevada Supreme Court. I'm up in the Carson City office. You can call up there, and to the extent that I'm able to get to the call or answer the question, I would be glad to do so.
Justice Saitta, say hi to Justice Pickering for me, will you?
I certainly will. I certainly will.
And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Eric.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That's Justice Nancy Saitta, the Chief Justice for our Nevada State Supreme Court. Don't go away, folks. We're going to have David Wallace, candidate for State Senate, District 4. This is Steve Sanson, Eric Mendoza with Veterans in Politics.
While growing up, I've always asked my family, who is my father? I was told the name of a man. When I became older, I looked for this man and found him. He thought that I was his son as well. But after a DNA test, it was discovered that my family was lying to me all my life. I pressured my family to give me the real identity of my father. I then became suspicious and took my grandfather's DNA. After I buried my grandfather, 2 days later, I discovered that my grandfather was, in fact, my biological father. I questioned myself and asked, what is my purpose on this earth? I should have never been conceived. But when I look at my 4 children, I knew that everything happens for a reason. This is Steve Sanson. Find your identity.
My name is Sean Havlin, United States Army 1st Ranger Battalion. I've been wounded in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I'm supporting Kenneth Wegner for Congress. Ken is an Army veteran who was wounded in the First Gulf War, and his son is fighting in Afghanistan. When you go to WegnerForCongress.com, you will see that he is the only candidate running for Congress who refuses all money from lobbyists, PACs, and special interest groups. Like Ken, I believe our government needs to take the leash off our soldiers or bring them home and place them on our borders to help win the war on drugs. In Iraq, we used foreign-made equipment. Now, who do you think will make a better product to help protect our soldiers? Foreign factories or American factories? Kenneth Wegner's right. All government contracts should be made in the USA, creating jobs for our economy. To prove that Rangers lead the way, I am donating $500 to Kenneth Wegner. You too can make a difference. Donate what you can. Tell your friends. Get involved.
I'm Colonel Ed Bridges, United States Air Force retired. I'm supporting Kenneth Wegner.
I'm Sergeant Matt Penny, a former recon Marine.
This is Dick Marcinko, Commander of the United States Navy, founder of SEAL Team 6 in Red Cell. I'm an American. I'm for Ken Wegner.
My name's Kenneth Wegner, and I authorize this message.
Hey you, this is Vince here on the Talk with Vince show, where no subject is off the table. We'll explore the depths of your mind. Spirituality, we talk it. Enlightenment, we talk it. Politics, we talk that too. Ufology, you want it, you got it. Conspiracy facts, we're on it. Sex, we talk it. So join me every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. for Talk with Vince here on VegasAllNetRadio.com. Talk that will blow your mind.
Veterans in Politics takes a proactive approach to provide you, the veteran, with the political voice for which you fought and served.
Veterans in Politics is becoming the premier veteran organization of the 21st century, with political candidate interviews, insight, and endorsements.
Public speaking engagements in support of American values.
Radio shows to keep you updated on the latest in veteran and military support operations.
Providing job placement and business support.
Go to veteransinpolitics.com today and do your part in defending liberty.
Back. This is Steve Sanson, Eric Mendoza with Veterans in Politics. We're here live in studio with David Wallace, State Senate District 4 candidate and Veterans in Politics recipient. David, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm great. How you doing, Mr. Sampson?
I'm doing real good. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, first of all, I'm not a born native of the state of Nevada, but I've been here since 1968. I was fortunate enough to go to elementary school, middle school, and high school here. Graduated from Bonanza High School. And before Mabel Hogarth was called Mabel Hogarth, it used to be actually called Bonanza Elementary School. And then I went to R.O. Gibson and then went over to Cashman. And after I finished high school at Bonanza High School, I went out of state for a little while to go to school in Huntsville, Alabama, at Oakwood College, now known as Oakwood University. Went into the Air Force for 4 years, from 85 to 89, was a medic, worked in the emergency room and ambulance, EMT, that kind of stuff. And then
they don't make money, those guys.
Well, we serve a good cause, though. You know, the Air Force and all our veterans and all of our branches, you know, it's not about the money for those that really care about our country. It's about the cause.
Well, how come you didn't come out and become a medic?
Well, actually, I did. See, you interrupted me, so you didn't let me finish,
hey,
man.
go ahead.
You told me to tell you something, then you cut me down, man. Which one is it going to be?
Steve, interrupt somebody?
All right. Well, anyway, after I got out of the Air Force in 1989, honorably discharged, of course, I went over and worked for the Department of Prisons as a forensic specialist 3, which is a combination of being a medic, mental health tech, as well as lab, x-ray, and all that great stuff. It responded to man-down calls at Ely State Prison, Indian Springs Prison, and Jean Prison. I did that for 6 years and went over to Metro Police. Worked there and started the Youth Diversion Program there, first of its kind in the nation. My focus is...
You wore a uniform?
I do not wear a uniform right now. But
did you wear one back then?
I did not wear one in the prison, and I didn't wear one for Metro Police, but I had everything else that officers have. I am a law enforcement officer. I've been in the law enforcement field for over 22 years, which includes the criminal justice and juvenile justice. I'm currently a manager for a state entity working with youth and families of the Bureau. And in addition to that, I'm a family man, and I am a licensed and ordained pastor as well. I'm very involved in the community, and I'm also the director of the Southern Nevada Gang Task Force, which is a very active community
organization. So you know Kevin Childs?
I know of Mr. Childs.
Me too.
Go ahead.
As we move on,
Mr. Wallace. Go ahead.
Okay. In addition to that, most importantly, I'm just a person from the community that's been fortunate to see Las Vegas grow from 68 to now, and I've also seen some of the changes that have taken place, good, bad, and indifferent. And to be honest with you, Mr. Sampson, I am a little concerned. I'm scared. And people ask me, why are you getting into politics now? I've always been a community member, active, making a difference as a person involved in the community. But now it's necessary for we as a people to get involved with the system that's making laws, bringing about proper legislative change, representing the people. And being a veteran, also being a war veteran, because when I got out in 89, the President of the United States called me back for the very first time in our nation to from inactive duty to active duty status for Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm.
I was out there. I don't remember seeing you.
Yeah, it's a lot of us out there. You were probably actually in fighting the war. I was there supporting it. The Air Force, we play supportive roles.
Yeah, I know about the Air Force.
And we play a huge part in the wars. And I'm proud to be an Air Force veteran and war veteran. And I was proud to serve my country and will continue to serve my country now, even here as a civilian.
You're running for State Senate District 4. Could you give the listeners the boundaries of District 4 and tell us a little bit about what issues that are facing your district?
Well, District 4 was recently, as you stated before, redistricted. Okay, it was rezoned. So we have 60 precincts now in our area and over 41,000 eligible voters. So this is a huge Senate. The change increased the boundaries and the territories. It's basically anything west of the 15, heading from, say, Alta, and the 15 go all the way down to Craig. And then anything west of that 15 all the way up to Rancho Craig Road by the Santa Fe Hotel. And then heading back south, from the north heading back south, it goes all the way down to Washington and Decatur. And it kind of ends at Rancho and Alta heading east toward the government center. And then, of course, back north. So, it's not a full square, so there's some areas that's not there, but for the most part, anything west of the 15 that's from Alta and Rancho all the way to Craig would be in my area, up to Decatur and Washington being the boundary and Rancho.
So what issues face District 4?
Well, we have a lot of issues actually that face District 4 right now. This is an area that has been historically a wonderful area where community people live and care about their neighborhoods, care about their communities, but it's been stigmatized for a long time about historic West Las Vegas, West Side, and everybody, North Las Vegas, historic North Las Vegas, now the new North Las Vegas. But it's actually a beautiful area with beautiful people that really do care about their homes, that care about their families like any other place, that care about their livelihood, that care about their kids' education. And we have wonderful schools there that have been rated in the prime 6 area with some very high numbers as far as the scale of 1 to 5. And we have some schools that receive 5 and 4 and some that receive 3 and less. But they care about the community. And we have to make sure as a people, I believe we're in a state of emergency, not a catastrophic emergency, but an emergency where it's time for the people to truly come together and let the system of politicians, not the system of people that want to bring about positive change that's in politics, but politicians know that we're not for sale. The people have a voice, and it's time that you speak our voice. Don't get up there telling us one thing when you're knocking on our doors, but then we get there in Carson City and you're voting different than what you stand for. I'm just a straight up guy that cares, and I've been committed to youth and families all my life. That's my platform. I believe everything starts with youth and families and it ends with youth and families. When the economy hurts, families hurt. When the family members aren't there to take care of their kids, crime increases. The juvenile justice system increases. We start locking up kids at an early age because the services aren't there. Our city and community hurts because our property values go down. Vandalism increases, gang increases, homicides increases, crimes against people and property increase. So our property then depreciates. And then who wants to move to a city where your family can't be safe or there's no work for your mom or your dad to work and take care of? And we do have a base here, Mr. Sampson, and it's a shame that a lot of unemployed people right now are veterans. They're coming back from serving our great country, dedicating their lives. Possibly some even have lost their life, as we know, and then come back here to your own city where you used to have a good job, and now you're standing in a line to get services that's necessary and needed, but now you're saying, what just happened? What just happened? I had to leave my job once to go to Desert Storm and Desert Shield. And fortunately, I worked for the state. So they held my position, and I came back, and I was able to go
Don't
back.
they have to hold your position regardless under the Soldier Sailors Act?
Well, government entities and some private entities are supposed to. But let's just be real. You're a small business owner. You're trying to make ends meet. We're in a war. Yes, you want to hold that position for the person that's serving our country. We should, and yes, they're supposed to. But the reality is you also have to keep those doors open. And I'm for the small businessman. I'm for the person that doesn't have the great title and initials behind their names. And I'm for the people that have all that too. But most of those people are already represented, and they have the influence, they have the power, and those people have some people already that know where they are. But what about the veteran that served their country honorably? And now they're out and they need medical service or mental health services, or they need a break because what they experienced in the war, what they experienced as a veteran, sacrificing now has caused them to have some Axis 1 diagnosis that no one can understand now. So when they walk around, being normal in their eyes, but not normal to the community they come back to, they wonder what's up with them and who's going to take care of them. Who's going to make those people have an opportunity to get a job? So all of us have to work together. And it's time that we stop all of this political stuff, parties this, parties that, and come together and go, how can we as American citizens, people that live in one country, it's supposed to be unified and supposed to believe in God. That's what we say. In God we trust. Oh, I know it's not popular, but hey, that's what we say. It's on our money. If on our money, and I got a little bit still in my pocket right now, but I'm scared. That's probably going to be gone in a minute. But in God we trust is what we say. And that's what we fight for. So we got to stand up.
So being a state senator, how are you going to implement change as far as all these issues that you just brought up?
All right. Well, I think the most important part of change is the people coming together, number one. The last time I checked, money can't vote. All right. It's people that make money. Money don't make people. So I don't buy the excuse of, we got to have money. Everything's about the budget. Yeah, we have to balance the budget. We're responsible to be wise with our spending and allocate monies appropriately for different things. But if we sat around waiting for money for everything to do that we need to be done, that needs to be done, then the civil rights movement would never have started. It was people that brought that. And then resources came from the movement. When people speak, there are people that listen. And although you may not be Mr. Popular, people listen to what you say because they know you mean what you're talking about. Whether they agree with you or not, that's a whole other thing. We can be here all day long. But they listen to you, and they know you got a voice out there. And you're like a voice in the wilderness. That's why I want to say this, too, if I may, real quick. And I don't kiss nobody, but I want you to understand that. I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. Whether I become your next state senator or not is really irrelevant. I'm still going to be David Wallace when June 13 comes. I'm still going to be David Wallace. I will always be David Wallace. I'm not for sale. Nevada shouldn't be for sale. But I do want to congratulate you on your recent award for being the Veteran of the Month from the state of Nevada for March. And I just want to say, man, good work. You know, I was really happy to see that they gave that award to someone that doesn't sell out because of political view or value. Just speak your mind. And I think that says a lot about the Veterans in Politics International and you personally for what you're doing. So,
I appreciate that, Dave.
Yeah, keep looking out, man. That's right on time.
All right, well, Dave, I'm going to give David like a $5 million check.
Wow.
I need that. Now I can put signs all over the place. Oh, man.
That's a joke.
Man. I'm just going to keep the faith anyway.
Where did my co-host go, David? You seen him? Where my co-host?
I'm right here. I'm just giving the respect due to Mr. Wallace. I agree with everything he says. I like the part where you said, I'm still going to be the person I am, whether I win this race or not. And that's how I feel about myself. I'm not for sale. I may upset a few people. I may break a few eggs, but I'm going to be the person I'm going to be.
And, I believe that's necessary because even though I'm a Democrat, but I'm a person, more importantly, that can work with anyone that has the same common goal, and that is to change things for the better, for the people. Abraham Lincoln, who was a Republican, stated that the role of government, the objective role of government is to do for the people what the people couldn't do for themselves.
Right.
That's what government is. Now, I'm in government, but I'm not going to get into politics. Because, see, politics is not government. Politics is a bunch of people that think they have power and money and resources to change things the way they want to see it. Right. And that's not what I'm in this for. I'm going to run, and I'm going to finish this race. There's a book I read once that said to fight the good fight, finish the race, and keep the faith. That's what I'm doing. I believe when it's all said and done, although they may not see my signs everywhere and in every magazine, I think when they see my name on the ballot and they see that I'm someone that represents them, and when I'm knocking on their doors and they see and talk to me and they get to understand this guy's for real, that scares people because the system says, wait a minute, if this guy wins, he's really going to be an instrument of change, and we don't want that. So let's do what we can to get him out of here. So they want to give money to my opponents, which makes sense, to keep me out of the game. But either way, I'm going to be in the game, and the game is about the people. It's real simple. You say what I'm going to do, I'm going to listen to the people, Mr. Sampson. I'm going to listen to their ideas. I don't have all the solutions, but I'm willing to listen, and I believe the people, when they speak up, and they know their voice is being heard, then they have some solutions that have been falling on deaf ears. And we need to implement those good ideas, and the ones that aren't so good, we need to massage them or get rid of them and keep giving an opportunity for the people to be involved in the process.
Do you have any bills that you'd want to see move forward and maybe sponsor something and get passed into law in the next legislative session?
Absolutely. Can we extend the time till about 4 or 6 o'clock tonight? Because you told me some bills, man. And let me just pull out this old scroll here. All right. No, seriously, I have many things. My focus is youth and family. So obviously, a lot of young people today are being certified as adults and direct filed into the system. Our prisons are being overpopulated with youth. Crime has increased dramatically.
All right, let's take that for example. How are you willing to propose a bill to the legislators and have that become?
It's real simple. That's real simple. I used to be over the diversion programs for Clark County Department of Juvenile Justice Services, and when I was a program director over a diversion program called STEPS and New Directions. It was a successful program, had an 87% success rate. All right, the program was funded for approximately 7 years by the Office of Juvenile Justice Delinquency Prevention. I was responsible for over 5 different grants that funded that program. Every year, we stated that we would put this program into the budget because it was proven to be successful. Well, guess what? There are no diversion programs at all. As we speak, we built a wonderful hospital and a beautiful RJC system. And I know maybe, what did that say? Oh, we did. But let me tell you what they didn't think about. Now that prison is being filled up with the kids, the hospital is being admitted with youth, shot up, and some that die. the RJC system is being processed kids direct file and certification. So one thing I would do is bring a bill to bring about true diversion programs. We have a wonderful diversion court that's in place with Judy, and I applaud and commend those involved, but we need a diversion programs front end to help these youngsters before they get into the system. So I would bring a bill on the table, since I have the expertise of supervising that administratively, and make sure that the juvenile justice courts, who, by the way, Judge Voy also, who I've dealt with for many years, in my opinion, is doing a wonderful job as a juvenile judge, but he needs the funding and the support of the people to bring the diversion programs on the front end so that we can make a difference. Secondly, I would go back and revisit AB 321. All right. I know a lot of people voted that in, the Stand Your Ground bill. I have concerns about that bill. All right. We had our own situation, whether you agree or disagree with Trayvon Martin. We had our own shooting here involving a young man. It was in the paper, DeMarcus Carter, that was shot in his backyard. Now, we can talk all day about, I may have done the same thing.
He was shot in the homeowner's backyard.
In the homeowner's backyard, and the homeowner was allegedly in the home. The bill and the law, I know it. I wish the Supreme Court Justice was still here, even though she wouldn't give an opinion, I know. But the thing is, we have wonderful laws on the books already about self-protection and self-defense. We don't want to make it too easy for property. Someone already robbed you, they're running away from you. You're no longer an immediate threat anymore. You take your gun out, because everyone just about has a concealed weapons now permit. And you say, whoa, you just robbed me. I'm going to think I'm going to shoot him on his way going away. Well, I'm an officer, a state officer. I can't do that. Okay, when the threat is removed, then the situation should be removed.
Well, let me stop you right there, David. There was an incident a few years ago. In fact, it was in front of the coroner's inquest when there was a felon or a suspected felon that had his hand cuffed in his back and brought his hand forward, found his way out the police car, was running away from the police officer, and the officer was a chubby tubby, and he shot him in the back because he couldn't run. He couldn't catch him.
Is that why?
That's what
was that the official answer he gave?
That's what a couple Metro officers told me. That was why.
Okay.
Because the cop could not run, and he decided to shoot him in the back.
Okay.
That's what he told me.
All right.
Do you have a different viewpoint of that?
No, I don't have a different viewpoint. What I have is a response, meaning that that situation, which was obviously a case that's under still review. And everyone has their opinion on it. I don't think it should have occurred. I will be honest and tell you it should not have occurred. I do think there was some community safety concerns while he was running away and potential threat to harm or hurt someone else, even though he was handcuffed. The fact that he is evading the police and he was in custody as an officer, I would have some concerns to protect the community and ensure that no one else is hurt. But I don't think the situation should have occurred quite the way it did. And whether the officer was chubby or not, there's laws and there's policies that we as officers have to follow, and that's for the courts to determine.
Those are the words from different Metro officers that told me about that particular case.
Yeah. Depending on who you talk to, you'll get different answers. But I'm for the people, and I'm for people living.
And the reason why I brought that one up is because you were saying the fact that somebody's running away, we shouldn't shoot him. So
you're right.
And then if it's a cop, is it different?
No, it's not different. It should not be different unless the person's running away and there are people available that they could hurt or injure. And then that officer has to make a discretionary call, which is we're trained to do based on our training and experience. We're going to respond accordingly. Because at the end of the day, every officer wants to go home to their family. And like other people in the city, they want to go home to their family as well. So I'm encouraging everyone to go to www.votedavidwallace.co. That's www.votedavidwallace.co to learn more about who I am and give me a chance to represent you. I want to be your public servant. If you give me the opportunity, I won't let you down. I'm the man to win this race for you. Senate District 4, David Wallace, taking a step forward.
Well, thank you, David. Eric, you have anything else?
Wow, no. I was going to say, hey, I'm District 20, Assembly District 20, and I got to say it's an honor to meet you, Mr. Wallace.
Same here.
Even though I'm a Republican, I think that people in general still share the same values.
And we have one thing in common. We're both citizens of this great country, United States of America. So I don't let titles separate us from getting the job done.
That's right.
Well, folks, that was David Wallace, who's a state Senate candidate for District 4. And my co-host, Eric Mendoza, who's Assembly candidate for District 20. I'd like to thank both of these gentlemen for coming on our program. And both of them are Veterans in Politics recipient. And we encourage all you voters to go down to the voting booth when it's time and vote for these two gentlemen in office. This is Steve Sanson and Eric Mendoza with Veterans in Politics. Until next week.
I'm out.
Thank you.
Jim Jonas will be back.
Next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt